Hello and welcome to the Voice Science channel. Today we're going to talk about your pauses in English so that you can get more strategic with your speaking rhythm, flow and fluency. But before we launch right in, let me take a moment to introduce myself in case you're new to this channel. I'm Sarah, a speech pathologist and opera singer who's Australian. I work with individuals and companies to build high-performance communication for those moments that you're counting on it. If you're feeling frustrated about your English speaking ability, especially if English is your second language, it can be really easy to focus only on the sounds and words you use. But so much is going on in the spaces between words, phrases, and sentences, and I need you to explore that space in your speaking now. In fact, your speaking proficiency depends on it. So here's what you'll learn in today's tutorial. First, we'll talk about why silence matters just as much as sound when you're speaking English. And then we'll go into how pauses are not all the same. I'll provide you with a few definitions on different types of pauses to be mindful of when you're speaking English, and you'll also learn the typical pause sounds that we use in Australia. And then finally, I'll give you a few signs so that you can know if you're pausing in the wrong spot so that you can guarantee getting a strong message across. I think we all know that feeling. You go to speak and oof, all the sounds like and they just come pouring out. Or worse still, there's silence. Total silence, silence so loud that you just want the ground to swallow you up because you can't find your thought. You know what I'm talking about? Consider, when you speak in any language, your ability to connect and share your message doesn't just come down to the words you say. The French composer Claude Debussy famously said, "Music is the silence between the notes." And speech is kind of the same. The moments of silence, how you react to them, and how long they are, can form your listener's impression of your fluency and even speaking proficiency. And this is why when I conduct your personalised pronunciation audit, I don't limit my assessment of your speaking to the pronunciation sounds. I make sure that I do due diligence and check the rhythm and flow of the English speaking because, let me tell you, that can really be what's breaking your confidence and clarity. The impact of your message depends on what you do in the silence as much as what you do with your sounds for the language. And if you can't get your head around how to manage and master the silent moments, you'll be disadvantaged. All pauses are not the same. Let's get more specific about pauses. There are, in fact, numerous types of pauses and categories for pauses, but I don't want to drown you too much on this. So today, let's divide our pauses into two core categories. Our first category is silent pauses. Silent pauses are silent periods of an unusual duration during a speaker's ongoing speech, and these pauses don't include the short silent periods you need to take a breath or to move your mouth into position for the next word. In English, we know that these pauses are usually between 50 milliseconds to 1 second long. And speakers typically in English have about 3.8 pauses of this nature every 100 words normally. Silent pauses are not necessarily negative because they give your listener time to digest your message. Our second category of pauses is the filled pause. Filled pauses are moments when you actually create sound and you make a vocalization like or even breathe very deeply. The most common filled pauses in English are as follows. Which tends to be pronounced as the schwa vowel. I'll show that to you again. Lips are very neutral. The next pause that we often use is And this sound we often hear with the schwa vowel as well. I'll show that to you, so keep your lips neutral. Now, in Australia, you'll also hear a lot of people say so the jaw drops a little bit on that one. And then I personally tend to use the sound Filled pauses vary according to your first language, so I recommend right now that you take a moment and think about what pauses you use with the sound quality when you're speaking your first language. Take a moment to think about what sounds you might be including in your spoken English that are coming out as filled pauses from your first language, and make sure that that sound, if it's different, isn't popping up all the time in your spoken English, as it will definitely raise distraction and deteriorate the listener's impression of your speaking fluency. For example, we know that Spanish native speakers tend to use filled pauses that sound like this: M, and many German native speakers, especially in the northeast of Germany, tend to go pff as they connect their thoughts. I also want you to consider that for each language, the pause duration can be very different. Researcher Ralph Rose suspects that different languages have a different cultural value on silence. So try to make some observations around the duration of silence given for pauses in your first language compared to English. We know that in Japanese, the listener gives more allowance for a pause than in English, for example. Now, let's analyse when you can get away with filled and silent pauses, and where you should work to eliminate filled pauses so that you can build your speaking impact in English. To understand this, we need to learn that pauses happen at different points in your message. Let's say you're about to share a thought, and the thought is, I spoke to my team leader and she told me to discuss it first with HR. In this sentence, there are certain logical boundaries for your sentence structure. Let's check them. I spoke to my team leader and she told me to discuss it first with HR. If you take a pause after each boundary, your listener will accept it because they still hear the logical flow of your message. Take a listen. I spoke to my team leader and she told me to discuss it first with HR. Here, if you pause and use fillers where I showed you, the logical flow of your message doesn't break down as much as the next example. Take a listen. I spoke to my team leader and she told me to discuss it first with HR. Notice how the filled pause occurs before really important details that you need to push your story forward. Here, research suggests that your listener can interpret your filled pause as needing more cognitive effort because your structure broke when you shared your thoughts. In the first example, the filled pauses didn't trash the structure of the message. They actually helped the listener by giving them a little more time before connecting the points. Research even goes further to suggest that if you put your filled pause in the wrong spot, your listener may view you as having reduced grammatical ability. These types of pauses can really harm your message transfer, especially if you're doing an activity that needs you to prove communication proficiency, like a job interview or, worse still, an English exam. So now you may be asking, what's the cure? Is there a cure to remove pauses in the wrong place so that you can form a great impression for your listener? Well, unfortunately, there's no hard and fast cure to this because every speaker has different speech rhythm impacts determined by loads of factors like your first language, your reactions to high-performance communication events, and even your ability to connect and coordinate sounds and concepts effectively. But it doesn't stop there. Don't worry, because I've prepared for you a bonus resource with loads of strategies to help you if you're struggling with word finding difficulties and overusing words like yeah, like Make sure you pick up your free workbook over on our website. I've linked it below for you and it's called How to Reduce Your Fillers. Furthermore, if you want to get to the bottom of speech interruptions and hesitations that are breaking a beautiful, calm flow when you're speaking English, you should consider enrolling in your personalised pronunciation audit. A key component of the audit will explore how effectively you manage English rhythm, stress, and linking. And I can say, if you feel that your speech rate is not balanced and consistent, and you notice you speak too fast or too slow or have too many gaps, hesitations and pauses as well as mumbling, chances are your follow-up pronunciation clarification sessions with our team will need to address linking and flow goals so that you can transfer your message with more precision and punch. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and that it has given you another area of speaking proficiency to leverage and build upon. Look, it can be really hard to know what's reducing your speaking confidence and comfort. Try not to ever conclude that you've got it all wrong, or it will be even harder to get those words together. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt, but also balance that with practical goal setting and hard work. And if you're puzzled about exactly what your English speaking needs to move forward more powerfully, you know where to find me. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you like this one, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!